It's time to break down some football.
We got to get our mind right. Touchdown, win.
From the perspective of guys who played in the NFL.
Touchdown!
And a guy who had one really great sack in high school.
Oh, you're so weak. You're a waste of my time.
Greg Camarillo and Marcus McNeil are the pros, and Skraby is the Joe.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Two pros and a Joe starts right now.
Coming in hot, we've got our guest here tonight. I call him Dr. Coach J.T. J.T. O'Sullivan, and he gets the nickname because he is Coach J.T. O'Sullivan, Ph.D. The man is literally a doctor. But tonight we want him to be the doctor of quarterbacks tonight, the man behind Quarterback School. J.T., what is Quarterback School?
Oh, I appreciate that, Greg. Right on a T for me. It really is kind of the genesis of me taking a break from football after being done playing and just trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the game. And for me, I always felt like there was kind of a lore, like a secret behind the curtain as far as what really happens with the X's and O's and the inside the organization, and just pulling back that and giving a little bit more in-depth analysis. No offense to the guys who do color or do the broadcast, but you just don't have the.
I'm offended, but keep.
You don't have the ability. You don't have the ability to do deep dives, and so for me, it's about doing a little bit deeper dive analysis or my take, and it's been fun, man. It really provides a lot of freedom. It's fun to have interactive, and YouTube is a really powerful platform right now.
Yeah, man. And what I love about it, and what I've always said, is that quarterbacks just know more, and there's no arguing. So I know what wide receivers do. Coach Mac, Big Mac, sorry, not Coach Dr. Big Mac, just regular Big Mac.
I'll take it.
Big Mac knows what the tackle and the linemen are doing, but the quarterback has to know what I'm doing, what Mac's doing, what you're doing. And so you just know more football, and that's why we want to pick your brain tonight. Dr. JT, Coach Dr. JTO. All right, so let's jump right into it. The matchup of the year, the old man GOAT versus the kid GOAT.
The kitty goat, the little goat, the baby goat.
Baby goat is called a kid. It's just the kid.
JT, who's the better quarterback? Let's just jump right in there. Who's the better quarterback right now?
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious to most people that Patrick Mahomes is the best football player on the planet right now. And, he does a lot of things that really people haven't been able to do consistently and makes it look easy. I think that he combines a lot of the best that we've seen from certain guys, whether it's, Aaron's accuracy, release, his winning, his playmaking ability outside the pocket, his ridiculous arm strength, that coupled with the team and what they're doing creativity wise with Andy Reid and the Chiefs and those perimeter weapons, I think add to that his kind of versatility. But I don't think there's anybody on the planet right now that can handle Patrick Mahomes when he's healthy and all those things are firing in the right direction. But at the same time, yeah, I really do feel like it's because Patrick Mahomes is playing so well that it's overshadowing the fact that Tom Brady is back in the Super Bowl, which is just mind-boggling because I'm 41 and can barely tie my shoes after riding the Peloton and he's doing this consistently all the time. And so it's crazy. And I think that, he's played at a high level for certain spots as well. So, I'm fascinated to see it happen. I hope it's a great game just for, quarterback school wise.
What most impresses you from the old man, the 43-year-old man still slinging the ball? What does he still have that's taking him to the Super Bowl?
I mean, I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think you were around Brett when he changed teams, and a good example would be Phillip to a certain extent, even though Phillip went with a guy he knew to Indy. But when you ask an old dog to change systems and change the way that they're used to thinking and speaking and terminology wise, it's just different and hard. And so that adaptation to what he's been able to do with what they're doing in Tampa and the blend of how they're now starting to, you can see some schemes and concepts that he was comfortable running in New England that have now morphed into what they're doing with the personnel and the perimeter in Tampa Bay, I think is probably the most impressive thing. And then I think people sleep on the fact, and unless you've been around him, you don't really know he's really, really accurate and he's better at throwing the football than you think. And so I think he gets a kind of this knack as far as a little bit about being the part of that organization and the Patriot way. But I think people are slowly starting to realize that really it might be the Brady way more than anything else. And that, we've all just associated him with one organization for so long, but it's pretty special to be able to go to another team, let alone learn everybody's name, but then take him to the Super Bowl. Pretty mind boggling.
and without any offseason either.
Yeah, I mean, it just nothing was in his favor to do this, and then bringing guys in from the street that he has a little bit of relationship with, but then to see Gronk, come back, and it was fun for me to go back and look at the Week 12 game when they played, because there are some really nice nuggets in there, and you all know. Even though it happened, 6 weeks ago, those teams are in there watching that. They're watching how they line up to different personnels, formations, how they handle different concepts. And both the quarterbacks played really well once Brady got a chance to get into the flow of it in the second half. And so what they take from that game and morph it into where they're at, on both sides of the ball, I think will be fascinating.
Totally failed this on the introduction, but you actually spent a little bit of time in New England with Brady. 9 seasons in the NFL, 11 different teams. So you talked about Tom Brady switching teams at 43, learning a new system. What is the hardest part for a quarterback to pick up when switching to a new system, a new team?
I mean, unfortunately, there's probably not one specific variable. I mean, you guys, y'all, if you got a chance to go through different offenses, you realize that just learning different terminology for schemes that you might know, you might know, hey, in our zone blocking, we're going to block it like this and call these combos this, but in a different offense, it might be the exact opposite. And so getting that communication, the timing, Skraby talked a little bit about the off-season issues and what the timing looks like from the quarterback. And really, you can see, in my opinion, some bones on the Bucs offense as far as like their relationship maybe with Brady and Mike Evans, where there's a disconnect. There is. And if you go back and watch all the film, whether Evans is giving up on routes or they're not on the same page or he's forcing the ball to him, there's a disconnect between what the expectations are from Brady and what the results are from the offense and Mike Evans. And so that's one element of maybe a pitfall, potentially a blind spot for where they're at. But it doesn't take anything away from what they've been able to do, running the ball, big plays down the field when they get opportunities in the play action game. But for me, it was honestly more than anything else, it was just walking into the locker room and not being like the new kid in school. It's just and I did it enough to know, you can adapt and be a nice guy and smile, introduce yourself. But at the same time, there's dudes like Big Mac over there who's got to put their face in front of somebody else's face. They want to know that you can play. They don't care that you're the new guy on the practice squad to a certain, that's just the truth. Like everybody in the locker room knows, hey, is this dude going to help us win? Like, can we play with this cat? Is he going to be an issue when he walks into the huddle? So that part of it. But I mean, Tom Brady's not going to have to deal with that, right? I think he's going to get the free pass on that, but he's still got to build those relationships.
That's great. That's a great point. Like, to be honest, I remember coming into training camp, and this is a great story because Nick and Dillman, Clary, everybody else, I was the first offensive lineman taken all year, and we didn't have any pads on. Like, it was a walkthrough for me. So I'm like, hey, Sean and SP, they ripping off sacks in like little, ghost man sacks and stuff. Like, oh, I got you. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, okay. So like they thought I couldn't play until, it was time to put the pads on, you know what I'm saying? And then it was like, all right, well, what can you do now? Nothing. Exactly. Right. So like that, I think that was the best part. Like, you got to come in and prove that you know how to play, because for a while they thought I was a bust. They was like, oh my God, like, I can't believe we thought he was going to be something, but I just didn't know how to play, without actual pads on, in the SEC, if you don't have pads on, it's everybody walk. Everybody walk.
Sounds nice.
That's it,
They call it the pajamas, practicing in your pajamas, those off seasons when you just wear the fluffy little pads, not real pads.
I always call the wide receivers running around in underwear, but you call it whatever you want, Greg.
Hey, I mean, those are pajamas to me. You know what I'm saying? Now the secret is out.
I mean, are you wearing your compression shorts, like running routes out there? You and the other tough guys?
I am so glad that the trend didn't exist when I was playing, because I got some little stick legs, man. And the one time I wore compression shorts was the Stanford's Pro Day, when everybody else was in their compression shorts. I can't be the guy out here in these double extra large baggy shorts. And I'm not going to say that's the reason I wasn't drafted, because there were a million reasons, but I'm sure it didn't help.
You think that you were being someone was being legist against you?
I would have been. I'd have been like, man, I can't break a tackle with those. He's going to get snapped in half.
His ankles. Look at his ankles.
Yeah. All right, though.
That's really
but now the skinny jean fat is doing me well. So, it's come full circle.
Full circle.
JT, there was a big, massive trade this week when the Rams sent Jared Goff and a bunch of picks to Detroit in order to get Matt Stafford. Now, I haven't watched that much Matt Stafford just because the Lions just aren't that sexy to watch. But I would love to hear your opinion on kind of the mindset of that trade and why they sent their future to go get Matt Stafford.
Well, I mean, I think you're circling around a few different storylines. So for me, the Rams are just a unique organization right now. It feels like every year they're trying to win it and they're building things, and it feels like it's a bit of a collage of, you know, great players in certain spots, and it's worked great on defense, and now they're going to see what happens with the quarterback position. For me personally, you know, as also someone who doesn't watch the Lions every single Sunday, I will say that I do think Matt Stafford, Matthew specifically for him, is a more unique arm talent than Jared Goff. That just means he's just limited. You know, if you play golf and you don't only bring irons to the range, you know, to the course, you know, you're only going to hit it so far. Like he doesn't have the kind of driver that Stafford does outside the numbers, down the field, consistently driving the ball plus 20 yards, those big explosive plays. He doesn't have the club. And so it doesn't mean that he can't win consistently in the league. That's just what it is. Coupled with me personally, you know, from someone who doesn't necessarily love that kind of, and this is going to put me in like the outside for certain NFL circles, but I'm not a huge wide zone outside stretch, you know, Shanahan, that type of world. It's not my favorite style to watch. You know, I don't necessarily love the nakeds and the boot game off of that. You know, it's just not my favorite type of football. And so I felt always that it was a little limited in what they were asking Goff to do now, unless you're in practice. And you guys know, if you're in practice and you're asking the quarterback to throw a 20-yard comeback and he's throwing a one-hopper, you're not going to call it in the game. No one's going to know, you know, that he can't do that. But the coaches will know, and so they'll build the system with kind of bumpers to not allow him to do that in a game. And so Matt Stafford can make all the throws. So there's going to be no more, you know, artificial constraints about why they're not doing certain things with the McVay system. And so that to me is the interesting part, you know, as far as what they gave up. I mean, we've all been, you know, early 30s in the league. You know, it felt like a lot. You know, I know that there aren't quarterbacks walking around like that, but if the Rams come out and win a Super Bowl, they probably did.
It's worth it, but they gave up 2 first-round picks in 2022 and 2023, or 1 first-round pick in each year, and then a 3rd-round pick this coming draft, and Jared Goff. That seems like you're mortgaging the future for Matthew. And by the way, as a Matt, I know that if you're a Matthew, I probably will not get along with you. So that's just what's going to happen. I mean, anybody wants to be known as Matthew. But yeah, I when I saw this trade, I was
oh, it's crazy. That sounds like there's a deep story into that.
No,
man.
It's just
a whole other podcast.
Yeah, I can take us off. I can take us offline for the next 20 minutes.
Real upset.
I was a little upset, yeah, just because I mean Matthew, the guy was like, "My name's Matthew," and I'm like, "Oh, okay, cool, buddy." Like, I can't call you Matt. Like, we're fellow brethren of the Matthew land, and you can't, whatever.
So, how do you feel about Patrick Mahomes needing to be called Patrick?
I'm not a Pat, so it doesn't bother me because I don't know, but it's just like Matthew. That's how you have to say it whenever you're
the only reason I know that story, and this might be faux pas, forgive me, on the podcast world, but I listened to the Smartless podcast with like Jason Bateman and Will Arnett, and can't think of the other dude's name, but they had Kershaw on, and Kershaw, I guess, grew up with Matthew, and so he told the story about him being called only Matthew. And that's why, I don't know, it resonated in there.
Yeah. No, you said it. You said it 100% correct. I've heard that a million times too. I like Matt Stafford as a quarterback, but I have to call him Matt Stafford. I don't know why. I can't do it. I can't call him Matthew Stafford. But I was stunned. As an NFC West guy, I was pretty stunned that Matthew Stafford went to the Rams for what they got. They just gave up on Jared Goff. Now, I have no idea whether or not it was because he apparently sent a text message to teammates saying he wanted to quote unquote pipe Sean McVay's girlfriend a few years ago. But that was some rumors.
The real news comes out.
So maybe that's why Sean McVay got kicked out, Jared Goff. I don't know. That's all. This whole situation to me is insane. But I agree with you. Obviously, you're the NFL quarterback. Matthew Stafford could throw all the arm angles. He can do. I mean, Aaron Rodgers said it. He's doing the no-look passes before Patrick Mahomes was even in the league. So he's been doing it for a long time. And I'm scared of the Rams now. I'm scared of them.
JT, that misdirection stuff that the Rams are known for and the rollouts, is that to work with Jared Goff, or is that just the system and then Jared Goff gets good at it? Like, can we expect the same thing from Matthew?
I would imagine it's going to be the same thing. I mean, I would imagine probably the play action down the field stuff is less what I would consider like movement, naked keeper stuff on the edge, and more play action set within the pocket to take more shots down the field. But, you know, the Rams, to me, the Rams offense is fascinating just because for a number of different reasons. But I almost feel like they overreacted to what the Ravens were trying to do with all their motions and, you know, that fly sweep, bluff the defensive end, block the defensive end, get into the RPO world. And they were doing it, I mean, constantly. Greg, I wish we could go just watch their wide receiver individual time, because those guys were chopping bags. I mean, it was, I'm telling you, they were doing that more than anybody. And the league that's one of probably the in vogue things to have those wide receivers involved in the run game now. And so to see what that looks like moving forward, I don't know with Matthew Stafford. I will say the other thing about Matthew Stafford, for me, someone who threw the ball to Calvin Johnson, it makes a difference when you are throwing to a dude like that. Oh, yeah. Like, I don't care, you know, there's just different dudes walking around the huddle. And when you're a different dude like that in an NFL huddle for a number of years, when he's healthy, you know, that's going to inflate everything for me. And so that's why I was always kind of like, you know, I know, you know, I like throwing to Calvin too. That's great. Let's do that.
Just because of catch range, like just because he's so big and so tall, or just because he was so dynamic while also being so
it was
big?
like a thoroughbred. I mean, everything was long, everything was smooth. You know, everything was smooth. There was no herky jerky, no awkwardness. He was a good football IQ. He was a rookie when I was there as the backup, and he showed up late to camp. So I got to run with him for like 2 preseason games, bro. And that was I remember Mike Martz, our offense coordinator at the time. We had all these intricate reads, you know, middle field close, whatever. He was like, listen, this drive, you throw the ball 11 feet high to Calvin every throw. Sure as shit. We had like 3 bang eights in a row, and it was like made me lead the league in preseason quarterback rating. But they didn't.
There you go, man. Bought you a few extra years.
That's it, bro.
Megatron.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
To Megatron.
Yeah, great dude.
Hey, so fellas, feel free to jump in. I just got so many questions from the quarterback perspective. But
I'm enjoying this.
You talked about Baltimore and their offense. So Lamar Jackson went from MVP, amazing quarterback, to what looked like at the end of this last year, like he couldn't throw the ball down the field to hit any receiver. What is your take on his ability to throw the ball? Is it his fault? Is it the receiver's fault? Why is he struggling to make those connections? You're
going to hate me for this, Greg, but it's all of those things to a certain extent. And the film doesn't lie. You know, the first thing is that none of us are in the meeting room, right? Like, we've all been in the meeting room where you're like, you go over something and someone there, you ask the teammate, like, what's the read or what's the call? And so they just can't, they don't have the capacity to do that. And so is it a capacity issue with what they're asking them to do? Nobody knows unless you're in the room. I will tell you that the plays that they're calling, Greg Roman's calling in the drop back pass game specifically, are JV football plays. Okay, we don't call them at Patrick Henry on the varsity level. It's an out by the slot and a go by the outside. That's it. They called it 3 times in one half in that playoff in the last game. So that that to me is either the scheme that they're offering is limited, or what they trust him to do is so limited in the drop back game that it's stunting his growth and their growth. And then couple that with the fact that, you know, they don't have anybody on the perimeter that I would say is even a solid, consistent 2, let alone a Megatron. You know, they built their thing around an exotic offense. You can tell they spend a lot of time with the run game, their tight ends, and the between the numbers passing game in the play action boot world. And that's different when you have to get in the playoffs and there's going to be a 3rd down where we need you to drop back, make a read, and throw it. You know, there's games where Lamar Jackson, he's so athletic that he can be hot. Like, they're bringing 6. We only have 5 blocking. Doesn't matter how you scheme it up. We're going to be hot. He either doesn't see it or doesn't care. The guy doesn't touch him. He makes a play. Well, is that good quarterbacking or is that great athleticism? It might be both for him, but to do that consistently in the league, I mean, when you play good teams, they're not going to let you do that shit.
Yeah. Sounds like it would be almost frustrating as teammates to play in an offense that is just like you said, JV football. It sounds like it would be a little bit, if I'm going to work and I'm thinking, all right, well, we have to beat this team, but our offense is only this level, I would be a little angry and maybe try to push some coaching or something. I don't know what I would do, but maybe you guys could tell me what I should do.
Man, listen, Lamar got what he needs. He just needs to take his time and mature to a good quarterback. Like he said, the biggest thing that he doesn't have is that number one receiver. I don't see a receiver that he can go to down the field, and those are the plays that you want to see, especially when you can extend the play, because now you can hit him with that, hey, go. I've seen so many quarterbacks do that on the scramble where now you can get behind that defense and make those big throws, or you find that. And you just don't see that. You always see that run game. You see the tight ends and stuff like that, the short stuff for Lamar. I think that he just continues to mature and he becomes a great quarterback. He has a good arm, accuracy-wise, he can get better. But those things I've always think quarterbacks in the offseason get better at. More and more throwing with their wide receivers. Like, that's one thing I always liked about Phil when I played with him, was just the fact that he loved to be around his wide receivers so they can get that timing right, so they can get everything right. So he has the intangibles to me. So y'all off Lamar.
I agree with you. I think I think personally that they need to challenge him to do more. I think you are where you spend your time. You are what you spend your time doing. And they spend their time doing 9-on-8. They do. I mean, they spend their time with exotic different runs. He's got a bunch of RPOs where they're doing defensive line reads. How many other quarterbacks in the league are running zone read consistently and running between the tackles? It's not something that a lot of teams ask their quarterback to do. Well, it's not that other guys can't do it as well as he can, but it takes away time from developing other areas. And so if I'm Lamar Jackson, to your point, Skraby, I almost might, I'm not someone who's afraid of confrontation. I'd like to see, we've all been around competitive people. Like, you can get into it with your coaches, and that might happen behind closed doors. But we need this to accelerate and to get a little bit better in what we're being asked and being expected to do as a perimeter unit. Because really, that it's there because the run game has been so good for really 18 months now. And then why isn't the pass game up to that level? It's probably because a combination of factors, but I definitely think he's got the capacity to come back. Just like 18 months ago, everyone's like, wow, what unbelievable. He's gotten so much better. He hasn't fallen off the face of the earth, that he just needs to continue to develop.
Well,
yeah, I hope they get him a wide receiver target for him to maximize that potential, because the dude is already an MVP. Clearly he's good, and it's a big year for NFL wide receiver free agents. So I hope they invest in that, because that would just be fun to watch. JT, one last quarterback that I want to bug you about, Josh Allen. So to me, everybody's talking about he went and saw a quarterback guru. He got his mechanics right. I don't buy it. They went and got him Stephon Diggs. That, to me, is the difference. What have you seen from Josh Allen? Do you think it's Josh and his quarterback guru? Did he go to QB school? Is he a subscriber? Bro. Is that what it is? I think it's Stephon Diggs, personally.
It's definitely, again, it's all of those. It's Stephon Diggs for sure. That's the difference between what a number one does. But at the same time, let's roll it back. Diggs in Minnesota, is that what they look like in Minnesota? So it's a combination. For me, Josh Allen is a perfect example. We're really fortunate to be fans of the NFL, to have a place in the history of NFL as far as being able to play and use that as a trampoline. But then the NFL is in a really sweet spot as far as young quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. There are a ridiculous amount of young quarterbacks that 10 years ago, the depth did not exist like it does right now. There's just so many good young ones. And for me, the thing that I love to see as far as the early performing, they come in and they play early and play well early. What that means, I think it's a combination of the college game getting better, and that the pro game kind of looks a little bit more like the college game than probably we experienced when we were playing. We had a lot more two-back power, things like that that doesn't exist anymore, basically. It's a lot more spread them out. I think that the league has evolved to Josh Allen take advantage of. First of all, the dude is a physical freak, right? He's a monster. He's a redwood tree. He's athletic. He's got a massive arm. But, the things that he does really well, he does not throw the ball like Phillip as far as like anticipation, stand in the pocket, deliver it, the ball down the field, those types of timing throws. He's much more of a see it, throw it, let it rip. He's a throwing overs and comebacks and double moves down the field. And so his game will continue to evolve too. But for me, it's just so much fun to see these young guys come in and just play so well. I mean, I'm sure you guys have been to Buffalo. Buffalo sucks to throw the ball. Like it's never good. And coming from a guy who threw changeups, like it's not good. It's not good. And so I could imagine like going out there and now that guy's ripping fastballs everywhere he goes. But, it just makes it that much more dynamic and special for me. I just love, it's really fun to see the position in such a good spot, because these guys are coming in, playing well, lifting up these organizations, these cities, and playing at a high level when it matters. And it'll be fun to see the development and hopefully some of these rivalries, as some of these older guys exit the game, where do these rivalries lie and where does it take the league?
I got to tell a story about Buffalo sucking. So there's like one hotel in Buffalo. I'm sure we all stayed at the same one. It's a brick hotel. Team goes there.
Look at Marcus.
They have some sort of sponsorship with the sleep number mattress bed, right?
Oh, that sounds nice. That sounds nice, Greg.
Sounds excellent until you find out that your sleep number likes to deflate in the middle of the night. Every hour I'm going from 7 or 10 or whatever the hard number is all the way down to like air mattress camping. It's miserable. And then you go play in that cold, swirling, snowy.
Man, sounds fun. Sounds really fun.
Anyway, thanks for letting me vent there.
Buffalo doesn't even have the best chicken wings.
Oh my gosh, I should cut this out of the podcast right now because we're gonna get death threats.
No, don't you do that. Y'all come to Hotlanta and get you some real chicken wings, all right? Because I went up there and I was disappointed in the chicken wings and the blue cheese. If I'm lying, y'all put something in the comments so I can know where to go visit next time, please.
I have a million questions, but hopefully we can do this again through the offseason. This has been great. I just have to tell this story before you go, JT, because you are you were a quarterback for the 49ers. You started 8 games for them. My friends, I lived in the Bay Area, grew up there, went to college at University of San Francisco. My friends went to UC Davis, and they were also 49ers fans. You went to UC Davis. I am not kidding. That year, they went and made J.T. O'Sullivan UC Davis jerseys to wear on opening week. And so they did, and you guys lost that game, but then you came back and won 2 in a row. And they kept wearing the jerseys, and they still have the jerseys to this day. And so I texted these guys last week, and they said, you're going to be on this. And I was like, I have a great story that you probably will never imagine hearing. And that's it. They went and made their own J.T. O'Sullivan Davis jerseys to wear at a 49ers game.
Well, I appreciate that. I will tell you, Davis is a very, very special spot in our heart over here. So much so that our third son is named Davis.
Wow!
So it was a really cool spot. I was super fortunate to get it as someone who is a 49er fan. Skraby, I grew up going to the Rockland training camp. I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to say that I probably have at least 25 plus Jerry Rice autographs, at least 20 plus Steve Young autographs.
That's amazing.
And definitely remember stalking them at training camp. So I always felt bad when people were asking me for autographs, but I was a kid at the time, so I don't feel that bad. But it was cool. It was a dream come true to get an opportunity to play. It really was. And I had a blast doing it.
I could keep going, but I won't. I'll stop. I'll control myself.
Yeah, please, Greg.
I'm not kidding. I went and started watching highlights from the 2008 season. And
that must have been grainy.
It wasn't grainy. It wasn't grainy. But you did beat the Seahawks. You did beat the Seahawks in Seattle in your second game of the year. So as your second game as a starter of the 49ers. So you can go down in 49er lore for going up to Seattle and beating the Seahawks.
That was a fun game. That place is crazy loud, man. It was a interesting experience because again, our coordinator at the time, Mike Martz, he used to call it his North Campus because he was used to being with the Rams and like beating the hell out of them.
Yeah.
And the 49ers were used to going up there and getting smoked.
Yep.
And so it was he and I got into it that game actually because we didn't have a silent count. He didn't believe in it as an offense, so we didn't practice it. And so, bro, they couldn't hear me in the huddle. You're in the huddle and you're like,
what did you do?
So we did a fucking silent count in the the second series, bro. The second series, and he and I got into it on the sidelines. I was like, "Well, you can take me out, but that's the only way we're going to snap the ball." And so
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, Yeah, that's how it happens, man.
Like,
we just make it up on the fly. Here we go.
Wow. I love this.
Oh, shit.
All good.
That's better story than I thought, Skraby. I was gonna be like, well, JT, I actually have a jersey.
No, I wouldn't be that. I wouldn't be that creepy.
That's what I thought.
I wouldn't be that creepy.
Like, I got this JT O'Sullivan pajamas that I wear every night. I didn't.
You
wear
better believe
Skraby.
that I texted my friends and I said, we're gonna have JT on the podcast. You guys need to find your picture of the damn JT O'Sullivan jerseys, and no one could find it, but they're looking because we're gonna get this picture to you. Because it, like, when we made them or when they made them, like we thought it was, and it was the coolest thing ever because people were asking us what the jerseys were. They're like, man, what do you got going on here? We're like, these are JT O'Sullivan college jerseys. I'm not kidding. We loved it. We loved it.
They were probably nicer than my Division II jersey was.
It may have been.
I will tell you, hey, Skraby, you'll get a kick out of this. When I was playing, my jersey for some reason, now this is going from someone who never sold their jersey when I was a backup to all of a sudden getting my jersey sold.
True.
All of a sudden there was like a rush on these, and like my family thought it was great. They're like, this is amazing, and you get like updates, and people send you, you get like a check with this. Come to find out, I had some friends in law enforcement in the Bay Area, and they're like, there's this I forget what the gang's name is, but their gang colors were red and their number was like 14.
Oh no.
And so they're like, your jersey is going with hotcakes with this notorious gang. I'm like, of course it is. So
The truth comes out.
Yeah. So
the first time I saw a Camarillo jersey worn in a stadium, I believe it was a former Wes Welker Miami Dolphins jersey, taped Camarillo.
No
over the back.
way.
I loved it. I didn't care. I was just excited. It wasn't for sale, but hey, that fan, whoever that was, man.
You should have went up in the stands and taken the jersey from him.
Hug that guy. Thanks, man.
Hug that guy. Oh, good stuff.
Yeah.
Man, hey, one thing, JT. What about Deshaun? That's the one quarterback we didn't touch on that I think has the most weight in the offseason. I got to get your feelings about him early.
Man,
on.
I mean, what a nightmare. I feel bad for him. I mean, I think the whole league feels bad for him, to be honest with you. I mean, I think it'll be fascinating to see where he ends up going. I think personally, I just want him to go to a chance that has a chance to win. He's one of those guys that I personally will put on his all 22 tape just because I enjoy watching him play that much. I think he's that good. And so for it to go down like it went down in Texas with the Texans, and, to feel like, I don't have a good feel on where he's going to land or what his situation is. You just really, a guy who's in his prime playing at that high a level, you hope he gets an opportunity to go to a good organization. That's what it is more than anything else. I think, I played for 11 organizations. Y'all played for some good organizations. There's a big difference between, no offense, going to like the Bengals and going to like, I never played for the Steelers, but the Steelers or the Patriots or someone that you would classify as a well-run, long-term, locked-in franchise. And so that's really what I hope for. Not necessarily, gosh, I really want him to link up with Shanahan, or I want to link up, with some offensive mastermind. I just want him to go to a franchise that does it the right way, that has done it the right way for a long time, and he gets an opportunity to thrive and win at a high level.
Stability is the name of the game there for him.
Yeah.
Miami. Send him to Miami.
Bro, you don't like Tua?
I will jump off the Tua train so quickly. Hop right on that Watson wagon. Sign me up.
Why did they make him stop doing the Mockingbird? Like when he leaned back and drew it back, like that was the hardest shit ever after he dropped the dime. Like that shit was so hard. Like I think he dropped like a 50-yard and he leaned back.
It promotes violence, Marcus. It promotes violence in a game that promotes violence.
The NFL promotes violence. I'm not trying to hear that shit. We out there beating each other's ass. Come on.
JT, Dr. Coach, JTO. We appreciate you, man. Can you tell our viewers where they can check out the QB School?
I'm all over YouTube, man. Easy to find, and I enjoy the support. So thank you for having me on. I appreciate you all.
Of course. Thank you for coming on.